So we watched this in 40X. It gave more life to everything happening on the screen, whether it was rain, snow, the violent fight scenes on screen.
Yeah.
All the action was brought more to life with 40X. So number one, thank you 40X for inviting us to the screening. Really appreciate that. No joke, you guys, the 40X experience was like, wow, that was the most intense and most fun 40X experience I think I've ever had.
I can't think of another 40X experience where I've actually been looking forward to watching this movie specifically in 40X and it didn't disappoint.
So this is from IMDb. The cryptozoological agency Monarch faces off a battery of god-sized monsters, including the mighty Godzilla, who collides with Mothra, Rodan, and his ultimate nemesis, the three-headed King Ghidorah. This is directed by Michael Dougherty. It stars Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, and Millie Bobby Brown. Right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you, if you're just looking to see lots of cool, well CGI'd action, then this is the movie for you. If you're looking for a deeper story, this is not the movie for you. On the surface, it's really well made. It's got a competent cast. I don't think that the actors were shown in their best light, but they're all good actors. The way the camera work worked with the action was really good. It made you feel like you were really part of it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of nonsensical things happening in the movie, but this is a summer film at its heart, and it's just like, it's all meant to be fun. Don't go into this thinking anything is going to make sense in the least. It doesn't make sense at all. I know we're talking about a movie with a bunch of, building-sized monsters bigger than buildings, but still, you usually expect some degree of logic, of suspension of disbelief.
Right.
But it gets to the point where it's like, well, this is basically a cartoon. And that's okay. As long as you go in knowing that, you're gonna have a lot of fun.
I thought that the CGI on the Titans was incredible, especially on Godzilla. I was like, wow, look at just the detail. Blew my mind.
Right.
So good.
Just so you guys know what I'm talking about, just a little bit, sometimes you have people within, main characters, within proximity of the monsters fighting really, really close. And the film establishes a certain amount of logic where if you have a creature that flies, when it's flying over a city, it's the flapping.
I guess,
the draft
yeah.
from its flapping is so powerful. It's the momentum of it is so powerful. It just creates chaos as it flies over things, which is cool looking. But then you have monsters fighting right next to humans, and the humans are okay, and it's just like a little earthquake kind of thing. That kind of stuff, it's just very inconsistent, but that's why I'm saying don't think about that stuff. Just like enjoy the onslaught of action for what it is.
Yeah.
If anything, I actually would have liked more action from the monsters, because it focused a lot on the human element. I'm like, I really don't care about these characters that much. I just want to see more of the fighting. Mm-hmm. And what it did was it established, why all this is happening, and the reasoning is interesting. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's interesting. It showed you a lot of the fighting from the perspective of like news cam footage and, people looking at it like, oh, this is what's going on in this part of the world, in this part of the world, like kind of updating the central characters on what's happening. It's like, well, I would really just like to see it happen as opposed to you telling me. Kind of like an Independence Day or Armageddon, where you just see the destruction unfold in different places and you're like, wow, that's awesome. That kind of thing. I would have liked to have focused in on that more as opposed to dealing with the people so much. I didn't care about the human drama as much as the movie wanted us to.
Right. And I feel like if you're going to watch this movie, you're not going to watch it for the human drama. I just want to see monsters duke it out with each other. Like, that's it. And during the times when they did, like, the epic fight scenes, it was amazing.
It was thrilling.
Yeah, really, really cool.
The funniest thing is, I actually cared more about some of the monsters in the movie than I did about the people.
Yeah.
If that says anything about, the way they built up and established these creatures, like you actually, for some reason, feel for the creatures more than the people in the movie, and it's the weirdest thing. Millie Bobby Brown did a decent job with this. She's a good actress. We all know her from Stranger Things, and I think for what she had to work with, she actually came out with the best performance in the whole movie. Other people in there were like cool. It's like like I said, you have got all competent actors, but for whatever reason, the way that they were directed or the way it was edited, or maybe they weren't even on set at the same time, I don't know. But it didn't feel like natural conversation at all, and it might have had something to do with the script. It might have had something to do with just the way they were directed. I have no idea. But the way Michael Dougherty handled all the action stuff was great. I'm pretty sure that's why he was Actually, I don't know why he was selected for this. I haven't properly looked at his IMDb yet. We can do that right now. He wrote X2, X-Men United. I imagine he wrote that with David Hayter. Dead Time Stories for TV, Urban Legends, Superman Returns, Trick or Treat, Krampus, X-Men Apocalypse, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then he's doing the follow-up. They already got the follow-up in the work, Godzilla vs. Kong, and then Trick or Treat 2. But he is not directing Godzilla vs. Kong. He's going back to Trick or Treat. So he's done a lot of Halloween-related stuff, a lot of horror-related stuff, it seems like. What's Krampus? Is that horror?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a big horror fan, which I guess makes sense why they would choose him for this, to kind of bring that sort of suspense to this film. It speaks to the action, I suppose, because he got really creative with the action.
Yeah, I thought this movie was really fun. It's definitely a check your brain at the door type of thing.
Right.
If you are a Godzilla fan, I would definitely recommend upgrading your ticket to 4DX for this one.
I would think I would actually go back and watch this in 3D as well, because this is definitely one of those things that 3D could help.
Yeah.
Like Real D 3D. Unfortunately, we didn't get to watch this one in 3D, but I feel like all those monsters, even the CGI, would be even further elevated by 3D. I think if I had to critique anything regarding the action outside of the human element not being really necessary for me to be involved in it, is I think that there's some camera trickery that they were doing where I was like, I don't think cameras can do that in real life. I feel like cameras can only do that in this kind of setting where it's like, a lot of CGI and animations being done. Like there was a lot of crash zooms into the monsters' faces. And I'm like, that's a very powerful lens you got there, buddy. To go from like a 24 millimeter to a 1000 millimeter or whatever it is to, you know what I'm saying? Like that's an intense zoom. And every time I see that kind of thing in a movie, it bugs me where I know, this is just me being the filmmaker kind of guy, like when I know something can't be done in real life, I get irritated. Like there was a scene in the original X-Men Wolverine movie, X-Men Origins, where there's a sniper outside and Wolverine realizes there's a sniper outside and the camera like goes over the hill all the way to the sniper scope, and I'm like, yeah, the way that camera moved, that's not real. Like and so here, likewise, like the action was really cool when it felt like that's actually how a camera could follow this. But when the camera started doing weird shit, I'm like, it kind of bugged me there. But outside of that, like I like the way the action was shot because I felt like you felt the violence of it. You felt like you were actually part of this fight unfolding, which is really cool. And you felt the intensity of it. You felt the rage. You felt the emotion of the monsters, which is really fascinating. I felt more emotion from the monsters than I did from the people, even though you could see people having emotions.
Yeah.
Ken Watanabe, I don't want to forget to mention him. Like, despite everything I said before, I think that he actually came out doing all right as well. Like, he had some semi-emotional moments, and I think that he managed to make it work for what it is. I still have to like listen really hard whenever he's speaking. Okay.
Yeah.
There's instances where he's saying very important dialogue, and I'm like, I just wish he said that a little bit slower because I'm having to like backtrack and go, okay, that's what he said.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Agree, definitely. For me, Sally Hawkins was the standout actor in this, just in terms of being the most believable person.
Oh, she was good, yeah.
She was really good. But like I said, I don't really care because that's not the type of movie that we're watching here. You know, I feel like all the actors tried very hard to take it very, very seriously and take their acting very, very seriously, as you should. But also, it's a fun movie.
Right.
Like, you could just have more fun with it. That's the genre that you're in.
Going back to what you're talking about then, the visual effects, there isn't a single moment where I could tell that the actors were on a sound stage. The effects were so well done. Because there was instances where I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, that was definitely a green screen. There was no way that they actually shot that on an actual location. And there isn't a single instance where I'm watching the movie going, oh, that looked like green screen or it felt like green screen. You know, because I feel like we can tell sometimes. It's most especially apparent when a character is like falling from a plane or something like that.
Right.
Where you can feel the green screen happening. Whereas here, there wasn't a single instance where I could tell it was green screen. There are so many logical fallacies in the movie, but definitely not a single flaw in terms of actors on green screen. Applause to the VFX department. And applause to Michael Dougherty for, you know, getting amazing action with the VFX department because, I mean, that's really what you're paying for here. I would have trimmed the movie a bit and not had so much of the human element there, or traded off in favor of more of the action, just seeing the destruction, because the movie talks about the destruction unfolding around the world, but you don't really see it as much as I wanted to.
Right.
Anyway, I think I've repeated myself a couple of times, so I'm going to conclude this here. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Do let us know your thoughts on our thoughts, your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it already. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of it. It's got a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes is giving it a 49%.
Wow.
So I know it started around 49, it went up to the 50s, and it's back to 49. Yeah, so there's that. Just to give you some food for thought about how your expectations should be when you go into this movie.
Yeah.
Lower them, and you'll have a lot of fun. My recommendation for something like this is always go somewhere where you can get a drink, because that'll make it even more fun, like ArcLight or the Draft. I keep calling it the Draft House. The Alamo, I think it's what it's called. The theater in Austin, Texas. Even some AMC theaters have alcohol where you can like take it in. So I would recommend doing that before you go watch this film, unless you're watching it in 4DX, because then you might throw up. So anyway, enjoy yourselves, and do watch it in either 4DX or 3D. I strongly recommend that. It's gonna be lots of fun for you guys. And that's it for now. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.